Today I'm honored to moderate a very interesting panel. I think long awaited. At least we exchanged toxic commands with participants and those who will be looking it, watching it online. I'm here as a moderator, so probably the only woman in this panel composition, but not, of course, not the only who is invigorated by this topic, because I also created with my team the category of delivery to Ukraine and Central Asia and some Eastern Europe countries. I also when prepared to this panel, I asked GPT to give me an advice, a piece of advice. I will read it. Be reserved, avoid confrontation in personal matters. I will do everything opposite. And with great pleasure, I would present my colloquitors today. Denis Sychkov, Prince Operation Capital, investor. Denis is investor with global experience in private equity sphere, namely in technological co-op and medical companies. And while he is being searched, let's move ahead. Denis Gurak, co-founder CEO of FutureTech Capital. Denis is an expert on the cross-section of defense innovation and investment. Ruslan Okhrymovych, CEO and co-founder of Effie. He is an entrepreneur with IT experience and MCG experience, focusing on automation operation in retail sales. Oleksii, Shaldenko, co-founder and CEO of Wantent. He PhD, professor of Kyiv Polytechnical Institute in AI sphere and emotional reaction of audience to content. And online we have Yevhen Vyborov, co-founder and Ability AI. He is serial entrepreneur in technological sphere concentrated on marketing automation used with AI. That's the composition we have today. I would suggest start with little blitz. I have a question to founders and I have a question to investors. Let's start with founders. What made you to have such to have bad reaction on the last meeting with investors? Or the meeting you remember the most? I will start. I started to work with venture world not very long time ago, basically 10th year of my career in business. It's a business in Ukraine, and for me to have a very bad reaction, roll in the eyes or be very upset, it's very hard to do for me. And those painful stories, hard for me to recollect. Maybe I have a different perception, but I am against stigmatization of relations between investor and startups. I am more for to harmonize those relations. And last 2 months I spent in United States. I saw certain difference between mindset in Ukraine and the one they have in US. And this difference gives us a feeling how it can be in different way. And when you are coming out from the meeting, when you are told no, that's the feeling. And so majority of meeting in the Wally, they end with your inspiration, new insight, new contacts. Hey dude, don't go to us, but still go there. It's a blitz. All right. So that's the main thing which I don't like. That not all the meetings and all the engagements in Ukrainian environments end with this feeling. Hello everyone, I'm Oleksii, CEO Wantent. I will be the one responsible for toxicity today. Just yesterday I had interesting occasion when you following up the investor, doing some negotiations with him, building the relations, selling, and then you have partner relations when you letting him in. And I have a good memory, and I remember everyone who said everything. It's my teaching experience. And it's very interesting for me to observe when one investor tells okay, you need to focus on America, you need to do all the metrics, everything is good. And in 2 months, he said, why don't you go to another markets, the same person? So they contradict themselves. And when you see these in Ukrainian situation, that it's very frequent, this thing of inconsistency, it's pissing off. It's when you're following up, right? All right. That's the cultural thing of Ukrainian investor. Of course, there are people though who communicate, who go to conference, but then we have this occasion of communication, and you see drastic interest, and it pisses off. It pisses me off. Right, Eugene, can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you. I saw my massive head on the screen and I became frightened a little bit. Scared me a little bit. Too big head. I would not want to stigmatize those relations with investors as well. From my experience, of fundraising experience, I worked with a lot of ventures. I don't have a lot of situations which made me to react in this way, but when they occur because of different stimuli and incentives who investors have, because we have some different tasks. They differ from ventures. To do the success metrics and found this
принаймні зі свого досвіду.
And during different stages, the investors start to be more inclined to the short-term, short vision actions, ignoring the potential of the future wins on the opposite side. But generally, I think that it is possible to build the relations where both sides are content, and these relations can be built when everything is alright, but not always everything is alright. Okay, we will talk about it. Maybe you all don't have problem, but I doubt it. Blitz, Denis, which word or slide in pictures makes you to say to have a bad reaction, like robots with lamp or exponential curve or whatever. It's everything which concerns defocus, a lot of contradictory in different directions in the slide and presentations. For me, it's big quantity of logos on the slides, because sometimes they just don't reflect the reality. But I have a perspective both as a founder and as an owner. I will tell as a founder, if I may, very shortly, without the swearing words. Very frequently, the investors waste founders' time. You can't do it, especially in Ukraine, especially in our situation. All right, thanks. Okay, let's go another block.
Коли інвестор говорять ніби про одне, але різним.
I'm sure a lot of times when founders talk about the same thing, but with different languages. And that's what I observed in your answers. Why this trust is deteriorated? A question to Denis Sychkov and to Eugene. When the trust is broken between founders and investors, in your experience, are there certain points that you can describe? Dennis? I think that just as in personal relations, it's a problem of some ex or former relations, both also in the business and projects and the investor side. Not everyone are professionals. Not everyone are integral. And it reflects some bad experience, bad form experience, and it helps to do the constructive dialogue. For us as investors, it's more easily to go over by displaying the good stories, some successful relations in our portfolio, but we can't correct the previous experience. So how is it possible Maybe there is certain approach to fix it. But not everyone has a prior experience also. I believe in case-based experience, and we are having those examples of the successful businesses with our investment partners, and we sometimes demonstrate where we achieved common goals, APO strategies, and those are not acquainted with our other investors from other projects. And we also showed the cases where we brought something aside of money. So we're building these relations, positive relations, and so now results are such displaying as the previous results.
Дивіться, насправді тут мені здається, це досить очевидно.
I think everything is
Коли виникають
very
якісь нові
obvious
Справа в
about
тому,
these
що
problems.
інвестори працюють
Investors
на,
work
іншому рівні
on
абстракції.
different
Їх є
abstraction
десятки.
level.
І,
They have tens
потрібно
of such,
робити,
dozens of such people
мінімальну
as we.
інформації для
They
того,
need
щоб
minimum
зробити
quantity of information to create this understanding where this project is, how they can help and do something with this project. And founders,
від того, що вони вважають важливим,
they
для того, щоб
use as a basis what they think is important, not investors.
розповідати, яку класну фічу
And instead of using the investors and tell them how to do this breakthrough and how to use the potential, investors understand another language, show us a TV, RVAR, and also on the late stages of the cooperation, it's important to talk, to use the language of investor and show him those things that are possible for investor to achieve those goals. And then investor will be opening up to understanding of the potential deep things that founder wants to deliver. And founder is so deep in his own process, in his context, that he sees some different other aspects which are important to him. What founders don't understand of motivation of the investor? I think two different worlds. People think according to their priorities, but having the experience of both and being all my life of this deep tech sphere, I hate VC. I hate them all. 4 years I lived in America. I conducted hundreds of talks with VC. A lot of them don't have enough expertise in what they do. They tell that they want to invest while they are just developing, doing genuine knowledge, and so on. My main criteria where I invest is don't waste founders' time. If a person does it, if the project is important and it will create some additional value, if it's a booking platform or rooftop in New York, then we are having a person who knows what he does. If you are looking at deck, you're interested. Why are you talking if you don't want to invest? Just tell it right away. I came just to talk to you and do some other thing. I'm just a dumbass. Or what's the point? It's just an imitation of activity. We are doing the business or we are doing the imitation. So we shouldn't imitate the process. Okay. Straightforwardness, sincerity, consistency. Ruslan, what founders don't understand about investors and vice versa? I think founders don't understand which basic TPI of majority of investors. For investors, it's important to grow their portfolio in their LP. They need to show the attraction before LP, and when founders are starting to get offended that it's a cool visionary idea that will change the world, and if investor doesn't see it in his KPI, it won't happen. I think that's the main story.
And also, I realized that not all founders understand that it's not enough just to build a nice business with great metrics. You have to build trust and be able to sell it, because VCs don't have time to delve deep into each project, and so on some patterns you have to be able to really communicate, really convey the message. Not everybody understands that right, and I'm still learning that. Right, okay. Like I say, it's hard for me to add anything on top of it, but you can be more toxic if you want. No, different goals, different mindsets, because when you're a young founder, you see a potential growth, you see that, but on the other side, there's a person or a partner who just throws metrics at you and asks you right questions. But from the founder, it's about how you look at these questions, because you can generate a lot of value in that. But I had a lot of pitchings, acceleration programs, and at each stage you understand that if preparing for a new stage, you have new challenges. So interacting with venture capitalists can be really exhausting, but you get asked the questions that prepare you for the next development stage. More interesting for me, from my experience, from angel investors' money, there's more synergy, because usually it's people from the industry, and it took a couple of hours to take the decision, because it's the U.S. And I had a pitching in Washington, and I was told it so happened, and I was lucky. And then a person works with you to improve. There's a different mindset. The ego works more, and venture capitalists need metrics, money, and OP. But here, to understand this mindset, you can only do that by talking to them. And it's very important advice to everyone who comes from pre-seed to let's see. So, right, thank you. And now we are progressing to the next question about the real factors of influence. What impacts more than deck and more than pitch? It's a question to Dennis and other Dennis. What is for you the biggest sign of trust to the founder, and what deters the wish to invest, even if the idea is very good? What is in your focus of attention? For me, it's a simple thing. Show me the money. It's the only metric that basically means anything. So how much do we make on this investment? So I disagree with the colleagues that the motivation of investors and founders is something clashing. I think we want the same thing, to build a successful business. It's just that, especially in the early stages, the founders of business, it's some visionaries things that is hard to understand, how to monetize it. People want to just change the world for the sake of changing the world. They are like visionary things that are far from reality, and I get annoyed by that. But practical steps, how to actually build a business that actually generates undetectable cash flow and makes money for all of us, including our LPs, that is interesting. So when people understand what they do and how they convert this, not some abstract operational stuff, metrics about the number of dogs walked in New York, when it converts into cash flow, I love that then. So we step aside from, we talk about pragmatic, cold stuff, and the way people think. Personalities impact, but there has to be a clear, understandable plan and scaling up of the business and a dialogue with the person. We as equity investors who invest on later stages, the decision takes more than 2 hours, so we have luxury of talking about the details, the due diligence, to build the business model, to decompose the plans into some specific metrics and to see how they perform or not perform, previous stages of business. So a lot depends on the team, the executive team. So the idea and the pitch can be a great thing, but what specifically do you have from your experience that actually is a red flag for you? When they don't understand, when they don't have the focus, when they are all over the place, when they try to change everything, like everything in one day. Yeah, but you have to focus, step by step, being realistic. As for the team is important, of course, but less important than time and the industry. So for me, that's the key thing, to understand whether there's a market need, what kind of market opportunity to create, because you can change the team, you can fire people, you can hire people. We're actively helping with executive search, etc. These are details, but choosing the proper time, and that's important. Dennis? Well, I will talk like an investor here. There are like founders who are spacefarers. That's a reality, of course, because just people sometimes don't have enough knowledge how the market works. But if they really want to build something, I think you need to spend some time and understand how specifically they want to do it. And the key factor of success here for any business is whether the person can actually, in this market, in this time, to do it, to actually do it. So it has to be everything coming into place. So the eureka moment that should be there. Because investors are people, they can feel it or not feel it. So if there's this spark, an investor really wants to do something, whatever they do, but still it's just bringing together practice and intuition. But the most important is whether the people are capable of doing what they really wanted to do. So when they do it, I say I can help you. If they don't, I tell them I cannot help you with this. So in Ukraine, since the ecosystem in deep tech is still not very developed, and in defense as well, so there are a lot of spacefarers. But it's okay. It's always been like that. The question is, like an investor who has the LPs, maybe it's a topic for a different panel, but venture investors are the lowest point in the food chain and allocation of money. Like all the people who are not VC investable, I tell them, you have to go and find a strategist at once. You will give more, but in 5 years of fundraising, you will still give the same, but you will cut the time. In Ukraine, again, and in defense in particular, or deep tech, there's still a question whether VC model is any good for this. Do you have any personal red flags? A red flag is like arrogance, something standard. Well, like you have to be a normal person. If you don't like the person, you can't. Right? If a person is really arrogant and trying to fool your, like a 25-year guys or 20-year guys who read some GPT summary of Dale Carnegie, how to manipulate people using some obvious stuff, well, that's of course a no-go. Because you have to understand what you're doing. Have you ever changed your opinion after you said no? First you said no to some startup and then you changed your mind. Have you ever had anything like that? Probably not. I don't have hundreds of cases. Well, just recent case, like people were. Oh, a lot of founders are doing eternal fundraising, which is another red flag. Like a fundraise for the sake of fundraising. I myself, I did some mistakes like that. I was duped at some point, so I now have this as a red flag. I see it immediately. So I had a case, and I had doubts whether it's really or so or not, and in the end, turns out it was a good thing, but they didn't go through due diligence properly. So first I told them, "Who are you to ask us these questions?" And I said, "Seriously?" So Dennis, have you ever had cases where you changed your mind after the first no? I used to hire people. I did hire some people when I said no, and it's one of the best people in my team now. I'm very satisfied. After the first interview, I said no, and then our HR director asked me to look again, and I said, "Yeah, okay." I really recognized my error, and it was the best hires. Right. Okay. Now, a question to founders. Ruslan, what are you more afraid of? Not to get to the next round or raise it with the wrong investor? In our case, we're building a sustainable business that is growing without additional investors. But we're looking at investors in terms of quicker growth. Since we are the company that was founded in Ukraine, and most of our team is in Ukraine, we lived through crisis, and we had big revenue cuts. At some point, we can compress the company if we need. We can compress our spending so that we can wait out any crisis, and that gives us certain benefits in this process. So, I think it's an important skill that you can build based on the context that you have in Ukraine and Eastern Europe in general. So for us, it's important who do you work with rather than taking the money. I support that because Ukrainian startups, I think, they have such a survival skill. Like when we had the first elections, like presidential parliament, then COVID, then war. We still didn't have nuclear war, but it's important to have a team nearby, and the angel investors and funds that join you, and it's important to build good relations with them. But we also said no many times, and sometimes you might not have the metrics for a while, but you have the right people. Yeah, and another important thing, you know who you get added, because it's a venture. So it's several rounds, and you have to think how to optimize cap table, other nuances. Like one investor can help you prepare for the next round. So it's important who you are with rather than just the money. Eugene, what do you say? I'll say that I agree with what the colleague said. It's important who you are with, but if you're realistic, the question who you are with is a luxury question. Not always you can actually ask this question who you are with. When you are running out of runway and not to have many options, there can be different situations. At the end of the day, there are many tools for funding, there are venture debt, there are other tools. And if you write the rules of the game properly, if you have the opportunity to have some investment agreements to properly describe the rights and who can do what, then, well, yes, sometimes you have to take money from those who you don't want to take money from, but in this situation, you at least try to avoid as much as possible. Right. Thank you for being frank. Well, what about talking about specifically what you're specialized on? Because in many ways, you are AI-based with businesses. What is it worth talking about aloud, but everybody's not talking about it? Are there such things?
Так, це до мене, так? Насправді там дуже багато там є.
Well, there are many things that have to be talked about, especially in context of investments and working with investors. So several reasons. First reason is that most of the modern AI startups, they don't have technology mode. They don't have competitive advantage in tech, and because now it's easier and easier to create something, creating software, agents, etc. It's easier, it's simpler. The cost of this intellectual property goes down. So to copy anything is very easy and becomes even easier. Like I built a mega platform that it takes 3 years to build. It's not going to be like, so where does it go after this? So ability to be able to distribute is the main. You know, if you have a simple software, easy to reproduce, how do you enter the market? How do you get to the market? That's the main competitive advantage that you have. Second thing that I wanted to say, is it taboo or not taboo? There's an active discussion in terms of how the venture capitalism will be functioning in this world. So if we looked at early stage VC before, the pre-seed and seed round motivation was, here's take the money, make a build, and show us the early evidence on market fit. After you showed early evidence, show how you can scale it up, and then we invest the money into marketing. So roughly speaking, before Series A, most of the spend of the companies goes into R&D. Now, one person with AI or a team with 3 people from the garage can do the same thing that earlier required 3 years to work. So do we need VC on these stages, and when do you need them, and what they need to invest into, and how they should measure this? And there's still no answer to this. So authenticity, how to see the hidden gem. That is exactly right. So Oleksii, I would say the following. Now there are things like we discussed on the previous panels. Don't build your own AI solutions, but we have a different experience. We did build, now building our models. We are, for startups, if they want to enter foreign markets, it's compliance, it's ethics, it's your own data sets. And one of the things when you will unify image VC startups to invest big money is whether you have your own data sets, your own technology, your own methodology, because now everything is going to work in ensembles. So like Gen AI is moving and developing. You have to look into transformation of market, AI agents, A to A. Things are coming. You have to adapt to this. You don't have to build your own tech everywhere. But if you really can build something that can be flexible, and in our case, our own technology allows to have methodology to adapt to different cases, different customers. And after you get information security with big media groups in the US, so first is data set, how ethical we are. Like with the Ministry of Digital Information, we have some workshops with Fodera, how ethical is the AI in terms of human rights. And so adaptation to law, when it's your technology and you understand how to modify it, not to lose the business because regulations are there. So I wouldn't say that such adaptations. And what I wanted to just the Gen AI, many businesses cannot use it because there is a demand for Gen AI to be trained on non-licensed data. That's the limitation that businesses who play the big game are prevented from adapting to modern AI development. And we see it in the US, we see it in Britain, we see it in Europe, and it's the thing, it's the moment which we talk about everywhere. And when at some point we said we're not AI startup, we are ML startup. So let's talk about this. We don't have Gen AI just to go through compliance properly. Right. So regulation in Ukraine. When is it going to be on the advanced level, the way that it's going to be in the world? How much time do you think we need to wait? That's probably a question to the Minister of Digital Transformation. Yeah, I get it, but still. Well, I think we are participating in some things which will be implemented to the law, like the state wants to adapt, I understand, and I think we're lucky if we don't have stringent regulations at the beginning that allowed us to quickly adapt. Because, you know, there's nothing worse than building a medtech startup in Germany. With our privacy policy, yeah, we go through GDPR, but even to understand what data you need to build your own models, it's the previous stage where we didn't have regulation, it was good for us. Now, in a couple of years, I think we will see standards and AI Act. We hope for that. Okay, Ruslan, what do you think? We've been working with AI since 2019. We call it machine learning. Now, there is a big potential with AI agents as a concept, and we use several MCG producers. We built AI agents that simplify a ton of redundant work that otherwise employers have to do, and sometimes you have to pay them a lot for that. And what's the learning point for me, from my experience, is that AI as a technology is not a product, and customers don't buy technology normally. If we talk about classic B2B thing or B2C, they are buying a product. And how the companies can compete is through industrial expertise, is by deep understanding of business, understanding and availability of data sets that can strengthen your AI, and still not to be a wrapper around ChatGPT or any other model. Because from our experience, basically AI is a big mix of your own models, open source models, mathematics, to achieve a certain result or product that will solve some problem. So it's not black and white. And you know, a black and white model, when they say AI first and that's it, it's still some time to get there. So those who will adapt to AI agents and also have industry expertise. Interesting. We have less than 2 minutes on the timer, but I was promised that we can stay a bit longer, so I suggest like a short portion of self-irony. We have a blitz survey that was a surprise for our participants. So let's see whether they are genuine in their answers. So let's take turns in any order. So first question, ChatGPT dependence. ChatGPT dependence from 1 to 10. How dependent on ChatGPT you are now? Probably 2. Well, 3. Not too much. I am still writing emails by hand. I'd say that if I'd say 6 personal tasks in my personal management rather than professional. What is the top use for ChatGPT for you? I generate pictures from ChatGPT to send to my partner every morning. Okay. Some 5 to 6, depending on some moments. Depending on ChatGPT and Excel and email. Other than that, it depends. Some 6. I still love thinking with my own brains from time to time. And I hate it when people create complex emails through ChatGPT. They cannot even remove icons. And you can feel it, right? It's a red flag for me. I hate this. Well, write it to me like that. It's Gen Z mostly.
Я б сказав, зі свого боку, ми насправді
We are AI first company and we use technologies quite a lot. Not ChatGPT specifically, but generative AI in general. 7 out of 10. But the only thing, using these technologies doesn't mean that you don't have to think. And those who use them, they cannot do away with thinking. It's just a different level of abstraction. Some 7 to 8 is my ChatGPT dependence. So I think that's max out of the whole scope today. So next question. If AI really takes your jobs, what are you going to do? Me? It 100% will take my job. So here's a fun story. I was lucky in my life, and I have friends with former director of DARPA. Those who came up, internet, GPS, and AI. He was a director of DARPA when they used to sell the first algorithm to Apple, which became Siri. And it was the first AI ML hype in 2016. I didn't understand anything in this yet, but it was interesting. And we're sitting with him and talking, and the DARPA's methodology is like they think about future scenarios for indefinite time in the future. And I say, Tony, how's it going to work? He says, he's going to listen to us with sensors. We're sitting in the restaurant, and you come out of the restaurant, your driverless car drives you home. You have ambience, everything, the food is cooked, everything nice, and you're happy. And I say, well, that's good, but does it mean that we have a chance to lose our job? Not to lose. You have planned scenarios. He says, no, there's no chance. Okay, thank you, Tony. Now that I know that it will steal my job, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I will fight back. I haven't bought iPhone for a long time. I'm orthodox, not to give my data. So what are you going to do? Are you going to be into agriculture? Yeah, maybe I will have my patch of land somewhere in the mountain and just talk with my friends, and that's it. Well, not everybody has this kind of dream. I don't know. I will travel blogging and just joke around. Without ChatGPT, yeah, just old school travel blog. I have a side hustle of teaching, so meaning hedging risks. Yeah, so you have teaching. Yeah, I will be teaching AI agents. So well, communication, working with the youth, what I'm doing for 10 years. So at least that's some kind of respite in terms of communication. We'll see where it all goes. Maybe people will go offline more, to impart experience.
Я
I'm a kind of person that I can't just sit doing nothing, or just witness my garden or trees. I think I will find something that I can build, and time will show what it can be in the new context, in the new life. Eugene,
Ну, цікаво, знаєте,
I have an interesting story.
і хотів би продовжувати займатися.
I think I'm doing now what I would like to continue, and I will do it when AI will hijack anything. It's connected with AI management, with creating those AI agent, supporting them that they will bring some benefit, some good. 1.5 years ago, I had a conversation with my team of such a transitionary stage. I tried to deliver the thought to them. If you think that you will do the same that you do now in a year, it will not happen, and we are becoming managers of AI. It's a new job. Agent will do the job, but what they will do and how, that we will be decided by us. We will be doing the direction, deciding the direction. We will be the stakeholders of this process. I would start to develop the resistance movement to this new system. This is something from sci-fi. You know what to fight, right? Maybe soon we will have a question what to do with that and how to enjoy life with what we can do. Thank you for this conversation. It was fantastic, curious, not toxic, not too much toxic. Thank you for that. I did my best. We didn't have this purpose to decide everything, but maybe someone just had some good thoughts, had good smile, then we gathered here not in a vain. So, see you.